It is Thursday, March 13th. It is time to get in the weeds. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is SP3. Oh, still battling, everybody, but we're here. We're not gonna let death ruin our show or anything. How you doing, SP3?
I am doing a lot better than my colleague here, my co-host here today. So I'm gonna try my best to hold down the fort and try to make him not talk as much as possible. And you know I'm very good at that because I go on many different rants and never shut up. I'm a New Yorker, so we don't know how to shut up usually. So yes, we got a lot to discuss on today's In the Weeds, including last night's AEW Dynamite, the post AEW Revolution edition of AEW Dynamite, the start of the Dynasty International Championship Eliminator Tournament, which featured the wild card himself, my good friend Uncle Speedy, Speedball Mike Bailey, making his AEW debut in a very fun match of the night against the Beast Mortal. So we'll talk about that. But it was a very promo-heavy edition of AEW Dynamite last night, and the promos were mostly good, other than Jon Moxley. Timeless Toni Storm is putting her keys in the bowl and telling everybody to get the orgy started. She is also says that she's not here to meow because she's no. Can't say it because we're not out the five minute window. Great promo by her, and a new challenger emerging as Megan Bayne lays out Toni Storm, Chris Statlander, and Willow Nightingale all in one night. The Beast is being born, heading into Dynasty in the AEW World Title scene. Apparently, Tony Khan's like, hey, Cope Mox, I let you down by putting you in the main event spot. So here's your do-over. You get a do-over next week on TV. Maybe if you didn't put them in the main event, we wouldn't have to do a do-over. But here we are. We're back again, but everybody is also setting their sights on the AEW World Championship. Christian Cage, after failing to cash in, is having trouble within his family as his oldest son is talking back, or his youngest son is talking back to him, and he had to put him in his place and rip apart his biological father. That's how stepfathers should work. Then you also have Hangman Adam Page coming off his victory against MJF. Him and MJF still seeing that they will be in each other's lives for a bit here, as MJF got an offer that he might not be able to refuse, because what's better than you, and you know it? It is better to hurt people, because MVP has offered him a business card. So very intriguing stuff there. Very intriguing stuff across the show. It was a good show last night for AEW Dynamite. But there is one person who probably didn't think it was a good show about AEW Dynamite. And no, I'm not talking about Jimmy Macaram. I'm talking about the third host here on In the Weeds, Mr. Joel Pearl. I think is in the back end. He's used to that. There he is. He's up front now.
Did you really just say that?
Yes, I did.
Used to being in the back end.
Good God. Is this how
when he wants me? If he wants me to, I usually do this intro on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but usually, I just go off of what happened on the shows. You set me up for a good joke there,
My God. Jeremy, I gotta mention something real quick off the hill, and I meant to come in earlier to talk about this. So two things. One, it sounds like Tony does listen to this show, because two things happened that very clearly prove the point. Monday's show, we talked about how Cope is really great in plunder matches. Okay. And then yesterday, we talked about Raw at Madison Square Garden and setting expectations. And do you remember what city you took a shot at when talking about Raw in New York versus Raw in?
Yeah, Omaha, Nebraska.
And Dynamite next week is in Omaha, Nebraska. There's a damn street fight for the AEW Championship.
I knew they were like, I don't know why people are shocked that they're running back this match. I guess I know why, because it wasn't good, and people are like, why are you going to do it again? But when Cope didn't get pinned, I said it on Monday. I'm like, they're gonna do it again. And doing a street fight makes sense because, yeah, Cope's good in those situations. Moxley, I think it's going to be a good match, too.
It's going to be a better match than Revolution.
Yes, it will.
I think it's going to be good. It's definitely going to be better. I think it's going to be good. Like, I think it'll be a good match. I understand why people are upset about it, but it'll be a good match. Moxley will win unless Cope wins, and then we'll move forward after that. Maybe Cope can get out of taking the pinfall out of there.
He'll do it like the rest of the 8 times that he's been pinned since he came back from the neck injury in 2020.
I got it.
Every single one is due to some type of cheating or misgiving. So it's probably Switchblade Jay White finally becoming a heel and laying him out to help Moxley win.
I got it. I got the ultimate finish for this match. All right. You want to piss a bunch of people off? That's all I care about. Pissing people off. You want to piss a bunch of people off? Adam Copeland becomes the new AEW World Champion by defeating Wheeler Yuta. Wheeler Yuta comes out and he's gonna help Moxley, of course, because he can't fake that he's gonna help Copeland. Cope gives him the spear, whatever. He pins Yuta, and that's how Cope becomes the world champion. Does it make any sense? Absolutely not. Will it piss a bunch of people off? Absolutely. That's all I care about. Have the world title change hands by Wheeler Yuta getting pinned. Think outside the box.
What Tony Khan's going to do is probably have that match open and then put some random mid-card match in the main event. Because he's still, last night's Dynamite proves, this man does not know how to book a main event. Orange Cassidy versus Cesaro. I love Orange Cassidy. I think he's very popular. I like this style. I was on the Orange Cassidy bandwagon before everybody else jumped on it when he signed with AEW. I was up in Evolve shows popping for him like crazy in La Boom in Queens, New York. I've been on the Orange Cassidy bandwagon way longer than a lot of people out there. Hechizero, it was my favorite new wrestler I discovered last year when he faced Bryan Danielson and then saw a bunch of his CMLL work, saw his great matches with Zack Sabre Jr. That is not a main event, Tony Khan. I'm just gonna say it. I'll be the one to say it because I know Jimmy McElram's gonna complain about it on AE Ramble later today. That is not a main event. Orange Cassidy versus Hechizero is not a main event anywhere in the world. I am sorry. It turned out to be a fairly decent match, but if you were gonna headline the show with one of the Eliminator tournament matches, you should have had Speedball's debut in the main event because that was the much better match. That was the only really good matchup on last night's show. That last night's show was carried hard by the promos. It was not carried by where the best wrestle with the wrestling.
This, though, is the Tony Khan way. If you don't open with Orange Cassidy, you close with Orange Cassidy. That's been his way forever.
But literally, that's what I said. Joel, you're literally reading my mind because I literally messaged Jimmy McElram last night. I was like, why was it that when at the peak of his powers, Orange Cassidy as international champion opened every Dynamite, but when he's like the least over that he's ever been in AEW, you decide to main event a show with him?
So there is another reason.
He's main evented 3 times in 6 weeks.
Yes, there is another reason for that, though. You look at a guy like Tony and that team, they are studying minute by minute, quarter by quarter. And what happens ratings-wise with AEW across Dynamite? Every week, without fail, what happens? It slides. You get a strong lead-in from whatever you're getting, and then the show slides. It's not a problem. That is just the reality of their programming. So as a result, whatever goes on last doesn't matter nearly as much as what you're getting as a hot start. If they can maintain the audience, and they should be able to maintain and retain the audience, then yes, technically you should have numbers going up. Instead, we don't. And as a result, you get, Orange Cassidy versus Hechicero as the last match of the night, which, most people are they love seeing it. The match is good. The wrestling is good, but that's as far as you get it with it. But you're not, what else could have main evented last night? Just out of curiosity.
I said it already.
The Speedball match?
Yeah, the wild card mystery would have been enough to draw some people. At least some people would have stayed along if you built up throughout the night. Oh, there's a wild card. It's going to be a new superstar debuting or someone returning. We don't know. Build that up, and then that's the main event. And you close. You could still do the same close you did with Orange Cassidy coming out to see Speedball like Bailey and give Speedball the big spotlight of the main event scene. We got to see Speedball twice, which is good. I'm not complaining about how Speedball was booked, but that was the better option to main event last night's show over Orange Cassidy and Hechicero. And no one can make a really logical argument against that. Like, Orange Cassidy is not as over as he was 2 years ago. Hechicero is barely known by most of the audience, and I love Hechicero. I'm saying that as someone that loves Hechicero, that's interested in Hechicero, but Hechicero versus Orange Cassidy is not the match that I would be interested in to see Hechicero in.
I mean, I largely agree with you. It's the show felt like top stars were talking because they're coming out of a pay-per-view where everyone worked very, very hard, and they were trying to move things forward. They moved them not in the ring. Instead, they moved them, with the talkie talk, which is fine. And AEW doesn't necessarily finish with talkie talk segments. So I agree that having the wild card build be the lead to your main event, that would have helped. But they still do tried and true. If you're going to have to take one of your established stars and you're going to put him in the main event, then that's going to get Joe every fan pretty excited. The wild card for people at home, that was a big deal. That was a big deal for people who knew, for people who want to see Speedball. We're not going to sit here and pretend like Speedball is this like internationally known household name that everyone, like every wrestling fan knows. So like you and I see the virtue in it and the value in it. But when it comes to Orange Cassidy, who's been on almost every show for the last 4 or 5 years, you got to run with that guy because he's an established character for the company. Jeremy.
If you put Speedball in the main event, is there worry people have tuned out by that point? Because the numbers...
What I think is an issue with AEW is that's a loser mentality. That's like you're going in thinking that you're losing, that people are tuning out. Why are you booking the show thinking that people are tuning out? Why are you not booking the show to make people tune in? No,
because they have years of numbers that show and prove that they have a declining interest throughout the night. And it's not a slight to anyone. This isn't me being negative. Like there is empirical data, there is factual data that shows AEW programming starts high and then it goes down. Sometimes it bends up. It on the rare occasion, there are edge cases where it does. And then they go with what they know, and that makes it easier for them to at least plan the show. Could they change it? Yes. That becomes that's a fight with them in the audience, though. That's that's up to them.
Now, it's not. I get SP3's point of just book the show and don't worry about those numbers so much. But I think to potentially Tony's point is, well, more people are going to see Speedball if I put him here as opposed to here. So I actually think it's more of a service to Speedball to put him in the middle of the show rather than at the end where he would get more eyes on him. Where if you put him at the end, you might have 200,000 less people watching the show by that point. So then you're just going with Orange Cassidy and Hechicero. I think the real issue here is that they just didn't have a main event, whether it was Speedball, whether it was the wild card.
Neither one is a good choice. I will say that. I agree with you.
They just didn't have a good main event match. And I heard Joel say it, like they're coming off a pay-per-view where everybody worked hard and people were banged up and they didn't have a top guy that they could put in that main event spot. They didn't have a top act that they could put in that main event spot. So they went with what they went with. But that's the real issue, is that the matches they had, no matter what they went with, none of them would have felt like a main event. Like you probably would have just been better off, honestly, just going with like the Toni Storm promo and I know Megan Bayne had to do things later on because she came out at the end or during the Statlander and Willow stuff. So you couldn't have quite done that. But that's where I would have gone with things. Honestly, open the show with you don't have to open the show with the women's match, but I could have bookended it. Put the women's match as the opener. Megan comes out after that, does the same spot. Close the show with Toni Storm. Megan comes out at that.
Close.
Oh, did he? I was like, did I freeze or did he freeze?
You both went. It was fantastic. Timing was excellent.
He'll be back. Didn't even
at all. This is the.
You're back.
All right. I was saying bookend it with the women's stuff. Megan Bayne stands tall to close the show, and you tell everybody this is the new beast here. You saw her at the beginning of the show take out Statlander and Willow. You see her at the end of the show take out Toni Storm. This is who has your attention now.
So I agree with that, especially because you took my favorite thing in wrestling, and that is a through line of sorts through a show, opening and closing with something that makes sense. The only other thing I would have done was actually put the Penelope Ford match on and then have Toni come out at the end, and Megan Bayne's in the ring. They're all watching or whatever. Everything's happening in the ring, but everyone's focused on Toni, and then Megan just lays out Toni to end the show. I don't know how they do it, how they would have done it, but they could have had it so that they had Megan in the last effectively 15 minutes of the show. Could have worked, but
that could have worked. I would have even took MJF as their biggest draw. I would have even took him at the end of the show. Him in the MVP thing, or like you could have shown the clip that they did right before his promo and be like, oh, we're hearing rumors MJF is thinking about quitting or something like that. If you want to have a draw or a hook for MJF talking, you could be like, he's questioning himself. We're thinking that he's gonna leave the company or something like that, and then it's MVP offering him the card to give him like a new lease on life. You could have worked this out in any type of different way, but it is what it is.
Those corny assholes. That backstager with MJF when he opens the door and he's talking to the mirror and he punches the mirror. They stole that from Hot Rod. When he walks in, he's like, Rod, get out! It was the same shit. Corny ass MJF. I see you, Adam Sandler ass motherfucker. Anyway,
Hot Rod's a good film. They should have taken out more from Hot Rod.
MJF should jump the gorge.
Yeah, like you like to party, like to party. Just do a whole scene.
Tony walks in. He's like, guys, I like to party. I'm like, yes, we know, Tony. You do like to party. Toni Storm walks in with a fishbowl. I like to party. Yes, you do, Tony. You like to party. Tony Schiavone walks in, says, I like to party. It says, shut the fuck up, Tony. You don't like to party. You're in bed by 5 p.m.
A much better show if they just built the whole show around Hot Rod. That's it.
Greatest show in the history of mankind.
Actually, I need to rewatch that movie. It's a fantastic movie.
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was nothing else you could have feasibly finished with match-wise other than what we've talked about, because it was funny because like Dynamite was a strong enough show, segment by segment, story by story. It just didn't have that big match finish, which honestly, like, I don't think it hurt it very much. I thought Dynamite was a solid show. I saw someone mentioning in the chat, was it Matthew Hooks? Well, two things Matthew Hooks said. First is Matthew Hooks saying it could have been the Okada Brody King main event for Revolution instead. And I agree with that. You could have done Okada Brody King on this show as the main event. That would have. The other thing was Henry saying SB3 out hating Joel. Now, I have to put this out.
I'm not out hating Joe. I just don't think that Zero and Orange Cassidy is a good main event for your post pay-per-view show. Well, and I have not seen anyone in the chat that's like, oh no, it was a good choice, and this is why. They're just saying, oh, I thought it was very good. Oh, you're going through hoops to hate because you didn't like the main event. I'm just saying Tony Khan doesn't know how to book main events based on the evidence of last night's show and Revolution. He has better choices, and he chooses the wrong one twice on 2 back-to-back shows. If you think otherwise, that's fine.
What did Tony Khan do to you?
I'm not going at Tony Khan. I just don't think that he's making the right decisions right now.
Fair. Plus, so the reason I brought that up is because my hate right now doesn't go to AEW. It goes towards a company called Spry. I'm currently wanting to beat the shit out of this company. So I ordered a phone. Okay. I ordered a new phone from this company. I shouldn't even giving them any credence on the air, but here we are. I ordered what was told to me was supposed to be an iPhone 14 Pro, 512 gig model, and this was through Best Buy, by the way. Best Buy has like a marketplace sellers, and they were like, okay, it's there, and it was $394. I'm like, that's a stupid price. I'm gonna buy it, and my expectations are low because it was in quote fair condition. And I said, okay, fine. If it's fair, I can slap a case on it. I can fix whatever. Blah blah blah. It's fine. So I pull it out of the case. I'm like, oh, that looks good. Everything's nice. It's new. It actually is in much better condition. Boy, these camera holes look much smaller than they should. And then I realized the notch on the front. You can't see it, but there's a notch on the front. Motherfuckers sent me an 11 Pro. They sent me an iPhone 11 Pro instead of the 14 Pro that I was supposed to receive. I have since gotten in touch with them via socials, via email, via Best Buy. Finally, they got back to me on the Best Buy side. The message that I got was obviously the automatic reply, which was, thank you for contacting Best Buy customer service. I do apologize for the inconvenience that this has caused you. Please take the time to review the attached PDF document that will guide you through the steps to initiate the return process or work towards another solution. Guess who's about to get into a fight with Spry to get a phone that I ordered that they made the mistake of selling at the wrong price? They were supposed to be selling an iPhone 11 at that make and model. But they fucked with the wrong dude right now. I want my 14 Spry. I want my 14 Pro.
Is that
12 gig model?
Is Spry like an actual like store? Like, can you go to the physical store and
no.
like? Oh, okay.
No. And also, they're based in Maryland, in Gaithersburg, I think.
Okay.
So I'm going to call them at this rate. But yeah, I basically have to say, like, you guys screwed up, not me. You're going to eat the cost of your mistake, and this is to your and your founder is going to say this is an edge case, and you're going to move on in 2 months, and that'll be that. But you messed up. Give me my phone, and get it to me before middle of April.
Yeah, go fight them all, Joel.
I will. So I can't hate. And so Henry's asking dollars or loonies. Very good question. This was Canadian dollars. This was 300. Sorry, almost $400 Canadian, which like to you guys in the States is like what, $150. It was a good price for a 512 gigabyte 14 Pro. I'm gonna mess this shit up.
Good luck in your phone adventures, Joel.
Someone asking what's Spry. I used to work for a company called Orchard. They buy and sell used iPhones, and it's a really great company. I put them over because I worked for them and everything was great. But they've started raising the prices on their resale of their phones, and I'm not about that. I'm going to take advantage of these guys screwing up their shit. You made a big mistake, Spry. Return the phone. Oh, send me the right one. Screw you. You screwed up, not me.
You made an enemy out of Joel Pearl.
It's hard to make an enemy out of me.
Yeah, unless you're Tony Khan.
Yeah.
It's hard to make an enemy out of me. I'm a pretty jovial dude. Come on. I came on this show even though I was in the middle of fixing a stroller. Like, what are we doing here?
A stroller. I do appreciate you jumping on because I felt like death in the opening segments of this. I'm feeling a little bit better now. Once I get going, I'm okay. But then I'll have a coughing fit and I'll be terrible again.
That's what I'm all about. Cyclops better than Wolverine asking SP3, why do you hate AEW and Tony Khan?
Why do I hate AEW and Tony Khan? That is to assume that I do hate AEW and Tony Khan. I will just let y'all know. I'm gonna pull back the curtain. I get paid to talk about pro wrestling, and I get paid to analyze pro wrestling. So sometimes there's no perfect bookers. And I'm going to be critical of what Tony Khan or Triple H or Gato or any other promotion that I watch, any other booker. There's no perfect bookers. So I'm going to complain about stuff. I'm going to say how I would fix it and what was the better option. And sometimes I'm going to praise what they do. I went through a whole different stages of that on Sunday. I was praising most of Revolution. I said it was an all-time great show. And then they let me down with the main event. So, And then last night, I thought that the show started off like a episode of Collision with the Ops with the squash match. Even though I popped for my boy Vinny Pacifico on the show, being a star, but he got stiffed by that goddamn Shibata.
Mother? Like, what? Did he make fun of Shibata's mother, and that's what happened? Because dude got absolutely rocked.
Yeah, he got
poor guy
killed by Shibata. He said he was okay. Let's send Vinny this link. Let's see.
Yeah, send the link. We need to check on him. We need to
join us from the dentist chair.
Yeah,
we need to check on him. And then and Cyclops, I'm not taking your post, your message seriously. I've seen you enough in the chat on multiple things I do. I know that you are all about the jokes and you don't take wrestling that seriously, and neither do I. I don't take any of this seriously. And if you want to be critical of me being critical of something else, okay, cool. That's your right. You're watching, so that's your right to be critical. I mean, like I'm watching AEW, and I have a right to be critical of stuff. It just seems like Tony Khan is not like the decision to main event Revolution was a tone deaf decision. The Dynamite decision to main event with Orange Cassidy and Hechicero, I just think there was better options. That's what that comes down to. One was very tone deaf because everybody and their mama was saying this is not the right choice, and you did it anyway, so you deserve all the criticism that again. And that's one thing I don't like is all these people being like, "Oh man, you're being so critical of Cope and Mox." Not me, but just overall they're saying, "Oh, you guys are being too critical and Cope and Mox. These guys try so hard, they work so hard to put on a good show, and then the match was fine. It's not their fault." And it's like, no, we're not. A lot of us are not saying that. A lot of us are saying this was not the right decision by Tony Khan, and that he put these guys in a no-win situation. Anything that I've been critical about Revolution in the main event, I don't think it was the right time, the right amount of time. I didn't need to go like nearly 30 minutes. No, they didn't need to work that type of matchup after all the matches that we saw. And yes, I would have made it much shorter and had a different finish involved. All of that was standing. It comes down to Tony Khan on most of those things. Tony Khan is the issue here with that decision, not Cope or Mox. I will never blame the performers. I will always be critical of the bookers because they are sometimes 100% at fault. The performers are not.
Did we do the call to action stuff? Thumbs up and all that?
No.
All right, 27 minutes into the show. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you haven't already. Fireworks and value.
SP3 ran through the entire Dynamite review before we hit any of that.
You do that at 1 o'clock. 10 o'clock is just for the S&Gs. What are we doing? Subscribe to the channel. You get us closer to hitting goals. We want to beat True Heel Heat. We want to beat that other channel, get more subscribers than them. They're doing great too. Who am I kidding? And also, you can donate a super chat like some of our pals have. Any amount, get your question or your statement read on the air, and it dictates the conversation. Because otherwise, we just through this whole 2-hour gimmick. That's what we do. Why am I here? Literally to do that, and then to talk while Jeremy, convalesces in his chair.
I'm hanging in there right now. For now, we'll see what happens in like 20 minutes from now when I have another fit and I can't.
Yeah, you coughed so much we didn't go through what we were supposed to go through in the first half an hour, which is Love Is Blind reunion.
Yeah, we were going to talk about Love Is Blind to start this show, but I couldn't pull myself together long enough to do it. Very sad. Maybe we'll get to it. We shall see. There's nothing else from Dynamite. The show sucked. Let's move on.
Yes.
No, it was otherwise a good show. Like I said, I thought the opening, I wouldn't have started that way. I thought it was like more of like a collision open. Even though I like Kenny Omega coming out and cutting a promo and having the Roman Reigns in 2023 fit of I'm just gonna wear my sports clothes and what I would have worn to the gym because I'm the final boss and the top star here.
So actually, I want to bring this up because I've heard other people talk about like Kenny dressing a certain way, not dressing like a champion anymore, even though he used to when he was heel, when he did the world championship run. Does it affect anyone's like perception of Kenny? I know we have our perception, but like, should he be dressing, quote, a little bit more, I don't know how to put it, not professionally, but more like a champion, would that actually change anyone's perspective? Or like what's the general temperature on that?
No, Roman Reigns comes out in his tracksuit and
Exactly.
t-shirt and wears his hoodie and stuff, and everyone just talks about, look at the aura of Roman Reigns, which is true. Like when he comes out, he still feels like the top guy out there. Seth Rollins comes out in all these wacky outfits and everything. No, you don't need to wear a suit to give the perception that you are like the champion. John Cena never wore a suit. John Cena wears jorts and t-shirt. That's a stupid argument. If people are like, I have, sorry, Vinny just messaged me back. Vinny said he cannot join in today. Maybe next week. So we're going to try to get Vinny on next week. So there you go, everybody. No,
Tony
it's a dumb argument.
Doing our show.
What's that?
Tony banned him for doing our show for a week.
No, it's a dumb argument if you're like, oh, Kenny doesn't look like a champion because he dresses like that. And you're saying a lot of people throughout history don't look like a champion if they're not wearing a suit, because not everybody wore a suit. A suit is a heel gimmick typically. Cody pulls it off, but he's actually a heel. Kevin Owens is right. But otherwise, most champions throughout history who've worn a suit typically been kind of a heel.
Yeah, the only reason I mentioned that is because Jimmy McAree messaged me and was like, Kenny's dressed like a hobo, but he still feels like the final boss here. And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's the whole point. Like, you can come dressed as ever you want if you establish yourself as a top star. You could wear whatever the hell you want, and Kenny has reached that level. And this wasn't like the best Kenny Omega promo, but I thought it was a proper way to kind of kick off the show. You see one of the top stars who won gold, the one new champion that came out of Revolution. I thought that was a proper way to open the show. It transitioned into little more than a squash match that you probably would have saw open up an episode of Collision, but at least they had the little stare down with Shibata, who's in the tournament, the Eliminator tournament, and then with Kenny, and it gave us a through line, like Joel was saying, throughout the show. The show was basically built on the Dynasty Eliminator tournament. We kicked off the show with Kenny as the international champion, telling us why we have the tournament, why he wanted to face whoever came out of the tournament, and then you saw one of the competitors that's going to compete on Saturday. Then they followed that up with an interview from Ricochet. Then the tag team matchup, it was fun. Other than Dralistico, he got a little confused towards the end. He was trying he was working his butt off, but damn, I was like, all right, it was a little miscommunications there, but it was a fun little matchup. But when I saw that fun little matchup right after the squash, I was like, okay, it feels like you're booking this like Collision and not Dynamite. And then from there, I thought the show got into a better flow with the promo work, with all the storylines that were set up. I thought this was a good follow-up overall from Revolution.
Yeah, no, I largely agree. And again, I'm glad that we started that conversation with Kenny, because it did flow and it did have a good setting of the tone for the International Championship being the focus of this episode of Dynamite. People were going into this, they want to win their matches to get into this 4-way to get a shot at Kenny, and Kenny opening the show was the final boss per se. He was coming out and saying, yeah, I won this. He had his moment with the audience and gave Takeshita his flowers, which was also good, sets up something down the line for them. Again, they did a good job with the flow, like you mentioned, with Kenny's dress, or the way he dresses. I understand both sides to it. I'm not saying no, come out in a suit and tie every time. It's not even that. It's like, sometimes I think I just expect him to be in slacks for some reason. And maybe that's because when he was an EVP on the show and off the show, there was like kind of that expectation that you dress a certain way. It doesn't bother me now, because where this all started, or where this all came together, was when he was doing the Golden Jet stuff with Jericho. And that was when he was at his sickest, when he was really, when he discovered, like, I have diverticulitis and I could be dead within days. And he was very low energy. And it felt like whatever, I know people use the word aura, so we'll use it here. Whatever aura he had was like stuck out. There was no energy. He had nothing. That's what kind of fueled a lot of that conversation, because he came out wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Now that he's back, and now that he's wrestling, and now that he's doing everything that he's doing, I largely agree. It doesn't matter what he wears, as long as he's putting the time in the ring, on the mic, whatever it is. And as a result, like, it didn't bug me that he came to the ring in shorts and a t-shirt. I laughed in the moment because I was like, oh, people are going to talk about this shit. But other than that, he presented well, as he should. And it's going to be very cool to see the match that he has against the winner of that 4-way at Dynasty. And then inevitably do the Takeshita rematch. That could be as early as Double or Nothing. So it's good. Takeshita even got his win back, beating Max Caster.
The best enhancement talent in the game today. Let's put some respect on Max Caster because he was hilarious last night. I don't care what anybody says. Toni Storm had the best promo, but Max Caster made me laugh the most. This guy, he said, Takeshita, what you doing out here? I'd kill you. I belly laughed. I almost woke up my son. I belly laughed when he said, I'd kill you. And then he made me belly laugh again when the crowd is saying, you effed up. You effed up. And he says, thank you for your concern.
That was that's what they were chanting. Yeah. And so I'm with Max. It was fine. Takeshita got the win back. There was a point I was going to make with Max, and that was now I've forgotten it. So clearly it doesn't matter. Max is there. Oh, you know what? I think it was, so whoever's booking this with Max feels like it's Chucky T. And the reason I say that is because this was PWG Chucky T doing the chants. I think that's where he's drawing the inspiration. I think Chucky T is doing the work here. I'm sure we can work to figure that out.
Can we talk about the real elephant in the room when it comes to Max Caster?
He sucks.
What happened to Anthony Bowens?
He's in the lab, he's working on his stuff, and when he comes back, he's going to be ready and better than ever. And he's working on the Tasha Steele's PR campaign right now. That was the answer she gave everybody when she was off TV in TNA. And when she was on our show, I pushed the hell back. I'm like, no, you give that to everybody. Stop it. She didn't like that, but it doesn't matter. But that's what we're getting from Bowens now.
Like, what happened to Anthony Bowens? Why is he not on television more? Why didn't they do an actual match with them? This has to end with Bowens answering the challenge, right? And then he squashes Caster, and then Anthony Bowens at least moves on to something. They did the whole thing. Remember, he was in the ring with Big Boom and Jericho. And then he lost to Jericho, right? Didn't they do that match? And then he lost to Jericho, and then he hasn't been on TV since. What's going on with Anthony Bowens? That's what I want to know.
Maybe.
Well, no, he hasn't been on TV since they did the breakup angle, which is fine. He's I will accept. I'm accepting he's working on the lab. He's trademarked his nickname, the Pride of Pro Wrestling. He's probably getting new gear made. He's probably getting new music made, and I'm okay with him eventually answering the Best Wrestler Alive Open Challenge. I think that coming out of the group, Bowens is going to be fine regardless of how he's pushed and how he's presented. Caster was the one who needed work, and he's the one that's developed a new character.
I don't know. I don't know if Bowens... I mean, Caster's found it. Caster's a heel. He's found his lane with this. Bowens needs... I think everyone looks at Bowens as, he's going to be the guy that's okay because everyone likes Bowens, and so they think he's going to be okay. But if he's not on television consistently, then it's going to be tough to get behind him. And Speedball's in there now. Josh Alexander's reportedly coming in. Guys are going to come in, and where does Anthony Bowens fit in there with these new guys coming in? Because as I always say, when guys come in, that means guys got to be shuffled out. And so if Bowens comes back, who gets shuffled out on television? I know everybody's going to say Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho ain't going anywhere. All right, people? He's just not. You can stop take Jericho off television. He's not getting taken off of television.
No, you want to know what happens? First of all, how much would you love if the reason Bowens isn't on TV is because it's softball season? How much would you love that?
Oh, that'd be great. I'd respect that.
Do an homage to our favorites. That being said, have a feeling this might just end with the Acclaim getting back together at this point because of all the reasons you just laid out.
Oh,
The
that
people
can't happen.
Oh no, that's the worst. That's the worst possible option.
I feel like they'll do a brothers fight. They'll fight each other. They'll win. Maybe they'll have a big match, and then they'll hug at the end. And guess what? They're back together. As long as Billy Gunn stays the fuck away from this. Pardon the F-bombs this morning, but as long as he stays the hell away from it. Billy Gunn got on the Maple Leaf Pro cards, and I was like, of course he did. Of course he did. But I feel like
your brother.
Hey, sir, cheers, working everybody. I think this might end with the Acclaim getting back together. That tag team division, it's not very deep. They might just be like, brother, we need a favor.
I mean, that the part about the tag team division not being deep is definitely true. I don't think it's the Acclaimed getting back together. There's no way.
Yeah, that's the worst idea possible. The only team that I want to see get back together now, following a feud, is Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis. Put back Aussie Open because the tag team division needs someone like Aussie Open. But the Acclaim, that's the worst idea. Bowens needs to be a single star. I think they can find him a spot, especially on like Collision, where he can kind of find his footing, get into that TNT title scene, or in a mid card feud with Caster over there, and then he could eventually get his chance in the C2 or get his chance in the Owen Hart Cup. We had a lot of tournaments throughout the year with AEW that he could find his footing and get over in a way. So I think Bowens is going to be fine. I'm not too pressed. I think you do need time to build stuff up, and they're building up this best wrestler alive open challenge as everybody comes out and beats the crap out of Caster, and we need to see the person that we all want to see beat the crap out of Caster, who is Anthony Bowen. So I think that the original thought of it's building up to that is the right plan.
It's gonna be hilarious when he beats Gravity in 2 weeks.
Oh man, Gravity.
Who's beating Gravity?
Bowens, not Bowens, Caster.
Did you like Chris Jericho's Shakespeare promo? Where he had the Gravity mask, like the skull.
Alas, poor Gravity. I knew him well.
Ruled. Absolutely rules that, like, what? Why Gravity? No knock on Gravity or anything.
Because he's Bandido's brother.
But, like, what a random...
The worst kept secret. He's Gravity. He's
Bandido's shoot brother. That's really the only reason, but they didn't really do much of a job explaining it.
It's so random of like, oh, here's Gravity. Remember Tony Khan booked the Pac and Gravity match just to, pop himself, which was hilarious, and the match was awful. And people were like, yeah, Gravity ain't quite there, buddy. Like he's just not there.
There were people, like, shout out to Lucha Block, who'd been saying it since the beginning, being like, I don't think Gravity is the person to be given these opportunities to right now. There are other people, in Lucha that deserve this, but it's exactly that. They're saying it plays into the story in the chat, and that's what it was. It was Gravity is Bandido's brother, and now we're doing Bandido and Jericho, I guess, again. It should have been Hobbs. Should have been Boom AJ. We've been sitting on this for so long. Big Boom AJ should defeat Chris Jericho for the ROH title.
Man, and if you're going to continue Bandito and Jericho, why did Jericho win clean?
Yeah, I don't think they...
Why not?
So you can do the Gravity feud, obviously.
It all comes down to Tony Khan booking the match on that episode of Collision, and the match was good to the point that Chris Jericho was on Dynamite saying it's one of the greatest Collision matches of all time. No, it's not, Chris. No one told you that, Chris. You're a heel saying heelish things that you know are not true. But yeah, it was a good matchup, but he won clean when he's never successfully defended this Ring of Honor world title in this current reign on anybody clean. He cheated to beat Matt Cardona in Hammerstein Ballroom, but he beats Bandito clean.
It was all to set up the big feud against Gravity because they're brothers. I get it, everybody. They're brothers. That doesn't mean you got to book this nonsense, okay? That doesn't mean you have to book it.
I'm not gonna front though. I think it was the right decision at Revolution because I was scared.
Oh, it was the right decision
the Jericho Gravity match. I was like, what are we doing?
Sure, the right decision there was, don't do the match. The real right decision was book something else. Do something different. That's not Chris Jericho and Gravity. I said it yesterday. Powerhouse Hobbs is all best friends with Bandido, and then all of a sudden he's not. Like, oh, Bandido's family is being threatened out here. He's fine. He's got it. I might have to help Big Boom AJ in a couple minutes. So let me sit back here. Now he's partnered with Hologram. Like, oh, Hologram needs friends. What are you doing, Hobbs? I thought you were friends with Bandido. You just leave him in the dust now? Questionable tactics for Powerhouse Hobbs.
I need Hobbsagram immediately, or Holo Hobbs. I need Hobbs to come out with those hologram masks. Just it's Harleygram, Hologram, and Hobbsygram. That's a trio.
I think Hobbs and Hologram are a great tag team. I'm glad Hologram was on Dynamite. You know, I said last year that Hologram should be challenging for the AEW World Title at All In. They won't do it, but I'm glad Hologram's getting more shine out there. I'm more upset at Hobbs. Hobbs is just out here hobnobbing with everybody.
Hey.
Pick a friend.
Hobnobbing, this guy says.
Yeah.
I mean, the random setup of that with Hobbs saying, you know, he wants to team with Hologram, and I think they just did it to pop themselves with the Harleygram coming back, with Harleygram being like, I am accepting for Hologram. She's awesome at anything she does. Her trying to seduce Mortos pop me, and Mortos be like, oh, I can't resist.
He's a very handsome man, that Beast Mortos. You should know.
I've seen his bathroom mirror selfie. Yes,
that's right. He's a very attractive gentleman. He does well.
He just doesn't speak. He doesn't speak at all. I love that Jeremy put on that great smile. Look at this great smile Jeremy's got. Look at this. Look at
He's very excited for all.
Look, he's stoked. He's in orgy up for Hologram.
We're all. Normally he would unfreeze by now, so this is
that's perfect. Let's just talk and put that as the big screen. This is great.
This is the face Jeremy would make if he was approached by Beast Mortos.
Beast Mortos goes roar, and Jeremy's like,
that's the thing. When you're as attractive as Beast Mortos, you can do that. You can roar, and people will be like, "Oh, hell yeah, let's go."
Let's go. I'm ready for that. That sounds good to me.
How fast get there?
That tag team match was very random how they set it up, but it was fine. It was fine in execution, so I wasn't too offended by that on the show. Then they did I think at that point they did the whole setup for the Cope and Mox with the backstage promos, and why John Moxley used to be one of the best promo guys in the business, definitely one of the best promo guys in AEW. But to me, now it feels like he got all his powers taken away by the Monstars and been replaced by mid-2010s Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. Just rambling ass promos that don't make too much sense.
I mean, I'm not going to fight you on that.
Who is this?
John Moxley.
John Moxley.
Oh.
He's ruled. He just talks. He certainly talks.
He just talks. He just talks, and it's still he still has good delivery and everything he's saying, but it's like, what did you really say? Like, oh, I won't let it happen twice. I won't let things happen twice. You wanted to hit me with the bullet. You couldn't hit me with the bullet, but now I'm coming back and I'm gonna defend the AEW World Championship. And then, and he got the whole world in his hands. He got the whole wide world. At least Bray used to hit us with a song at the end.
You really want Moxley like make him laugh? So what do you want from him?
Yes, I want that. Because at least I can laugh at the end. I'm not sitting there and being like, you did not say a damn thing. like that's what I was after that promo last night. I was like, this man did not say anything worth of value.
Jeremy, did you see how you froze?
No, people said I looked very intrigued.
Very,
Oh.
very interested. Beast Mortos.
We need to put that.
Beast Mortos, you say?
Beast Mortos is a good-looking dude, man.
Handsome man.
I'm not gonna. I'm comfortable in my heterosexuality. Beast Mortos is a good-looking dude. What do you say?
He is. You would have never believed it if you never saw him behind that mask, but he is. He is.
People pointing out because they're part of WP. You've got Moxley like, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. Renee, come here. We're gonna do a duet."
I like that Christian, by the way, was like, "Aren't you related to John Moxley? I ain't talking to you." Finally,
I like
someone actually brought it up.
Like, I know I'm not going to get fair and unbiased reporting from you.
Yeah.
So get out of here. Get out of here. You're related to John Moxley. And I do appreciate that they have finally given someone in the patriarchy a personality outside of being subservient to Christian Cage. I as a Christian fan, I was very upset with Nick Wayne calling him out for anything. But as a viewer and wanting to get something out of the patriarchy, this was a step in the right direction last night, and Christian got all of his heat back from looking like an idiot on Revolution because he became the biggest asshole that we've all appreciated as the last 2 years, and he just ripped up. He told Mother Wayne, he was like, "You want to go back to the midnight shift at Waffle House?"
When she slaps Christian, that place is going to erupt.
Absolutely.
Where will they do it? Let's take a look at the calendar.
I feel like they're going to hold this off for a very long time. I think y'all are getting a little too ahead of when this Nick Wayne turn is actually going to come to fruition.
They're going to do it in Boston.
Wait for Kill Switch to recover for them to do anything. I think it's going to be like
I think it's going to be a while.
Where are they from? Where are the Waynes from?
Oh, Seattle.
Washington.
Are they Washington? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, they ain't doing another West Coast jaunt until Double or Nothing, so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a while before this turn actually happens.
Just do it in Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh, when are they coming to Norfolk?
April 30th.
Okay.
It's Dynamite.
Hangman Page, big title victory.
I mean, he is the front and center of that promotional material. Which, like, I know we talk about it all the time, but he's on it. Just like Mercedes is the front of the Boston stuff. Only the Dynamite one, not the Collision. Interesting.
And when is the Boston show?
That is April the 16th and 17th, respectively.
Okay. I think they'll probably give Mercedes a big title match then. I was intrigued by the fact they put the Billy match for next week. I thought they would prolong that a little bit longer.
Well, keep in mind the Boston show is the week after Dynasty, so I don't know if they'll build to something for Mercedes that quick, or if they'll just give her like a big promo in the ring to set something else up.
Could do that, either or. But yeah,
y'all were taking shots. Y'all were taking shots at me and Mercedes last night. Very disrespected in our group chat that we have. Joel, I'm gonna expose the DMs here.
That's fine. I was catching up on Dynamite an hour late. I went to go have for dinner.
He was so confused by my Vinny Twitch message to you.
I knew what you were saying. Like, I knew the context, but I didn't know where he was going to be. Because, like, if Vinny was suddenly the wild card, I would have been like, wow, that's a big disappointment to people not named us.
That'd have been great.
Yeah, we would have been all over that shit. Like, the entire Fightful, like, roster, fandom, whatever, people who are Fightful associated. Yeah, we'd be like, hell yeah, Vinny. But, like, other people would be like, the fuck? This guy? Oh, we would have been all over it. But anyway, I saw it and I was like, he's not the wild card. I guess he's in a squash that was not officially announced till now.
We'll ask him if he was supposed to be the wild card when he joins us.
We should ask.
Yeah. All right. So Joel says Mercedes out there trying to cut a promo and sounding like Jeremy. Super disrespectful to myself and Mercedes Moné as we work through our throat injuries. You know, no respect for the grind that me and Mercedes has. She gets kicked in the throat. I coughed in the throat, and we're out here still trying to work for the people, and yet people like Joel Pearl, white people behind a keyboard, taking shots at me and the GOAT, Mercedes Moné.
Maybe you should just, work on healing yourself instead of putting yourself in front of the camera, you camera whore.
I feel like I'm doing the Macarena.
Yeah, you really look like you're doing the Macarena right now.
Shout out to Mercedes Moné. I know what you're going through trying to speak and carry shows with a throat issue, Mercedes.
Well, Toni Storm was doing the same, inviting everyone to the orgy. I know this was a big topic of conversation for you, but I also need to add in my absolute favorite part of that entire promo was nothing Toni said. It was after she made the orgy reference, and you can hear a man off camera behind her yelling, "Can I come?" That just popped me immensely. If you were listening on headphones,
shoot.
Yeah,
You're
listening on headphones, you're just like, the guy just said the right thing.
Gotta shoot, man. Gotta shoot. Yeah.
Good for her.
Toni's promo was phenomenal. She is really turned into one of the best promos in the game. Like that promo, her coming out, getting the spotlight, and just going through that she's not an animal at the zoo, but she bleeds like a pig, and she roars. She bites like a lion, but she doesn't meow because she's no pussy. I can say it now. We're out the 5-minute window. So that was great. Oh, it was great. And then ladies, put your keys in the bowl and let's get this orgy started.
This is what's really cool about her character. She is, yes, portraying a film star from the 30s and 40s and 50s. Those film stars of that era were absolutely like that with the cameras off. They were these like absolute hedonistic dickheads, and that's what Toni's doing. She is having the role of a lifetime, includes her putting on the best performance in the ring, but when she's just talking, she's the biggest asshole, full of herself, egomaniac. And that's what's really interesting about her character. How do I know? There are many movies out there about actors and actresses of that time being completely out of their head, addicted and sex idled. Yeah, you can look it up and you'll see plenty of films and plenty of context behind that. And she's playing that to a key. I think it's really good for the Toni Storm character.
Yeah. And the video package for her and Mariah, absolutely fantastic. Might be one of AEW's production team's best work.
I missed a super chat from Cyclops earlier asking, Jeremy, why are you anti-family? And when did the hate start? This must have been when we were talking.
I was about to say, what's the context? Why am I
Bandido? It must have been the Bandido.
Oh,
must have been.
Oh, fair question on that. Yeah, fair question. I'm not anti-family. I'm anti. Why is this continuing? Why are we doing this?
Pro-divorce. Gotcha. Pro-divorcing the situation.
His mother cried. You heard Jericho. He made his mother cry.
Well, sons shouldn't have been talking shit,
Lots of people have made Jericho's mother cry. Or Jericho has made a lot of mothers cry too, but that's a whole other conversation for another time.
That doesn't seem good.
It's not. And then Kai adding, they pushed that Megan Bayne button real quick. And that's something that Jeremy and I talked about, was who do you go next with for Toni Storm? They went right to Megan Bayne. I personally...
I said this last week.
Yeah, I would wish that they would hold off a little bit on Megan Bayne. I understand she's the hot hand, but oftentimes they become challengers of the month and you kind of go from there. I'm hoping that it's not the case, and I hope that they have enough stock in Megan that if she doesn't win, they at least keep her at the top. But like, they do lack credible opponents for Toni in terms of heels versus faces. They don't have those heels to go up against Toni. Megan really was the only powerful one. I just don't know how that's gonna look after Dynasty.
I think that is a good sign that they had Megan also still be involved with Willow and Chris Statlander, because I think that can be your gateway to getting Chris and Willow, who I think is the right choice to be the one to dethrone Toni eventually. I think Megan Bayne, I think she will still be over if Toni gets the win with a small package or something like that. She gets the crap beaten out of her, only gets one or two moves, and then in the end, when Megan Bayne goes for the F5, Toni reverses it into a small package and retains that Dynasty. I think that Megan Bayne will still be over coming out of it, and then you can move into, for Double or Nothing and All In, to Willow and Stat, either Willow at or Double or Nothing and then Stat at All In, or vice versa, because those are the two that need to be the next AEW Women's World Champion, in my opinion.
Needs more beatdown segments.
They gotta take these chairs away, though. They gotta stop.
Oh my God, Penelope Ford put Nia Jax to shame last night. She was watching those Hulk Hogan 1995 tapes and was like, "That's how I got a hit." And man, and you was trying to snatch the chair away from Thunder Rosa? What you was gonna do with it? That?
First of all, we will accept no Penelope slander on this show. Second of all, yes, you're absolutely correct in that assessment. I just don't know. I don't know. I just know that the Megan Bayne Toni match is going to be fun. It's going to be a really strong match, but I'm more concerned about the longevity of what happens afterwards. Like you said, they've put some good stock in having Megan Bayne continue the Statlander and Willow stuff. I hope they don't just wrap that up in a month just to get to Toni. Maybe they'll do a triple threat number one contenders match, and that's how they give Bayne the for sure match. But it's again, what do we do afterwards? Someone's saying, are we banning chairs now? Yes, for them, just for them. Only Copeland can do the chair spot. Anything else?
I don't know if Copeland needs to do the chair spot either.
How else will he do the concerto?
Oh, that move sucks.
But it's loud and it makes it look good.
I miss the days when he used to do the real concerto, when him and Christian hitting somebody upside the head with two chairs to the head. And I know that's a lot less safer, but he had Jay White with him for a month. Why he didn't do at least one of those?
Cares about safety.
Why is it always the one man concerto? Seems a little
one man concerto sucks. I don't like it.
Well, the ring will never let you down. The person you're doing it with can, over rotate.
Wow.
The ring can't over rotate unless you somehow break the canvas.
I don't care. I don't like the one man concerto. Just move. I like how at Revolution when Moxley was gonna do it to Cope, and then Cope countered it, and Taz is like, "Oh, he knows how to counter that because he's done it." So it was like, what do you mean he knows how to counter it? It's the same fucking counter for anybody. You don't have to do the move a million times to understand how to move out of the way when another man is swinging a chair down at you. Only he knows the counter because he's done the move so many times. Then all these other wrestlers are idiots if they don't know how to counter this move.
No one's going to argue with that point.
Points are made. We do need to talk about what's in our thumbnail. We talked about it a little, that it was the better choice to be in the main event, in my opinion, at least. But we have not really talked about Speedball Mike Bailey making his official AEW debut as the wild card in the Dynasty International Championship Eliminator Tournament. They need to shorten their names for tournaments, but Speedball. That was I thought that was a really strong way to introduce him, because Speedball is going to be a guy that's going to get over for his in-ring ability. So putting him in there with someone who could play off of his striking and his high flying and be a great base for his high flying in Mortos, I thought that was a great choice by Tony Khan, a great booking decision. And I thought Mortos looked great. in this matchup, and he's so unique for a guy that's not that tall in stature, but very stocky and powerful. And nothing pops me more. I've never seen a move that pops me every single time quite like the avalanche press slam. Every time, because I'm scared that he's going to drop somebody. I'm scared that the other person's going to fall off the top rope, and he always is able to hit it. It's always impressive.
Listen, I don't need. Go ahead. Go, Jeremy. Go.
As I said on yesterday's show, there were two choices for the wild card. There was one, they're both Canadian. One, Tony Khan looked at it and said, this is a match you can make love to. And then the other one, Tony Khan looked at it and said, this is a match we can fuck with. And he went with the match he could fuck with. And that's why it was Speedball. And I think Speedball was, I think most people knew it was Speedball. We certainly talked about it. I know plenty of people online talked about it. Didn't make the debut any less impressive. It was a perfect opponent for him to really showcase against, and I expect he'll stand out in the 4-way next week as well.
He gonna win that 4-way.
You think he's gonna win? I mean, it's him or Ricochet.
I don't think they're going to do Ricochet. I don't think they're going to do Ricochet right now because Ricochet is coming off of that Swerve loss. And then to have him lose a number one contendership for the world title and then go win number one contendership for the international championship and then lose, I think that just, again, I said it yesterday, you can do it and it doesn't devalue Ricochet because of the way that he operates. He's a very good talker. He can get his way in and out of things. But again, if you look at the blueprint for how AEW deals with new signings, especially ones that they hype up, they give them the big push and then they let them settle from there. They give them a big push to a big standout match on a pay-per-view so that everyone can say, holy shit, this guy's amazing. I hadn't seen him before. Or I always knew he could do it because I watched him in X amount of companies and X amount of matches. So like, this is going to be a dream match, blah, blah, blah. That's typically how they start them. And then what they do afterwards is always the conversation that gets a little frustrating. I really think because it's a 4-way, I think Speedball wins. I think Ricochet does not factor into the pinfall, and they just move on. It'll be like him pinning Mark Briscoe, realistically.
Or they can use this 4-way to set up a rivalry between Ricochet and Orange Cassidy. Because I think that would be better use of like Orange Cassidy is for him to eventually like put over Ricochet, and so Ricochet can beat someone of some name value, a popular babyface on the roster. I think that would be the right way to kind of use the 4-way to give Speedball the win and set something else up. Or even I would even take Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe, but Mark Briscoe kind of already started something that they really haven't followed up on in the exclusive with Gabe Kidd, but because Gabe is in Japan fighting off the House of Torture and becoming a very popular babyface over there when he's going to be a dickhead heel over here, which is hilarious. But I think that would be the right way that I would do the 4-way. Set up OC and Ricochet and put over Speedball, because Speedball and Kenny Omega at Dynasty, sign me up.
Forbidden Door is going to be hilarious for Gabe Kidd at this rate.
Yeah. It is.
So Greg mentions, like, I thought Mark Briscoe was probably going to beat Mark Davis. And now I'm a little unsure that Mark Briscoe is going to beat Mark Davis. Not necessarily the heel part. It's the international part. You have 3 Americans and a Canadian at this rate. I think they're going to have Mark Davis win just to have the Australian in there.
I mean, it's the 2 heels, 2 faces dynamic that you and I talked about yesterday.
Yeah, but I don't think they care as much about that of 2 heels, 2 faces. They like Mark Briscoe. I really think they're going to look at the international part and be like, oh, let's actually put an international talent that is not North American in this international 4-way.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think if they cared about that, they would have a Mexican. They had 2 Mexicans in this tournament and had both of them lose on the same show.
I'm going to say this, and I don't think I'm speaking too out of school when I say this, because you as fans need to hear this from someone who has covered Speedball, has interviewed Speedball, has had conversations with Speedball, and he'll tell you himself. Be excited for Speedball. Be excited for the matches. Be excited for the output. Be excited for him getting the bag, as the kids say. Do not get upset when he's not going for the world championship, like even in a year. I think Speedball is aspirational. I think he has aspirations to do really amazing things. But Speedball has said on multiple occasions that he's very happy to be here. He's very go with the flow. He's a lot like Bryan Danielson in a way where he goes where the momentum will take him, and he's not going to push too hard to get his way. He works very hard, and he's very popular with people. But that's also because he's very chill. Do not get upset if he goes for the international championship, loses, and then like the thing that happens with a lot of new AEW stars happens. I don't want that for him. I want him to be featured. I think a Collision staple is a really good spot for him for the time being. Put him on every episode of Collision you can and build him up to, I don't know what, TNT title, whatever. But when he was the X Division champion in TNA, the one thing that everyone was like, he was having banger matches, but like the character work was what it was. Speedy just likes to be Speedy, and that's okay. There's a certain or again, I hate using the word aura, but again, there's a certain aura to him where it's like he's chill, he's great. People just want to see him do really cool shit and have really great matches, and he does that. He can work a 6-minute as much as he can work a 26 and a 36-minute match. But I say temper your expectations in a way that I'm not telling you to be let down, but I am telling you to be prepared for a Speedball that is really talented, really good at this, but I don't think they're going to be throwing the World Heavyweight Championship on him anytime soon, if at all.
Oh, fuck that.
It's
If he doesn't win the
already.
Owen, if he doesn't win the Owen, I'm going to be super heated. I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to talk about it on the show all the time. How they don't have, once again, they did not have a Canadian win the Owen. For a third straight year, these Americans keep winning the Owen Hart Tournament. I'm sick of it. The Canadian needs to win it. So if Speedball does not win this tournament, boycotting AEW.
But I mean, what if Will Ospreay wins it?
Is he Canadian?
No, but they put the queen on their money, the king, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
My point stands. You got this Owen Hart tournament, and you keep having these Americans win it. What is
he's not American? Will Ospreay's not American. He's British.
He's British.
Okay, but still the first 3 years,
part of the monarchy.
It's been Americans.
Yes, that part sucked. Well, no, Mariah May's not American.
Yeah, she's not American.
Talking about men's. Is she Canadian?
No, she's a Brit. She's like Canadian light.
Is she Canadian? See, Harlem's like, look at this Canadian coin I just brought you, Father. Yep. Canadians should win the Owen Hart tournament.
It's like she heard what Jeremy was putting down, and she's like, "Here, I'm gonna show him the Canadian quarter."
Do you know what they should do? They should have. So if people are saying Josh Alexander in the chat, Josh is a good shout. Josh wins the Owen, and you know what they do? They say this year the Owen Hart Trophy or Foundation Champion, whatever. Again, tournament names too long. I agree, SP3. This is one. He wins the Owen, and they say, guess what? You don't get a title shot. Instead, you get to compete in the G1 this year. And Josh Alexander's over the moon, but everyone else is just like, the fuck? Seriously? G1?
I do like Will Ospreay's being very presumptuous that the Owen is once again going to main event All In.
They set the standard last year. That's the standard now. That's what it should be.
Change it.
It was more presumptuous that it's even happening because we had not even heard the name of the Owen up until this point. Because
they didn't even announce it. They usually announce it before someone says they're gonna win it.
I was an hour behind catching up on the show, and I had seen the tweet, and I'm like, "Oh, they announced the Owen," and I'm like, "Why haven't they announced the Owen yet? Why haven't? Where's the Owen announcement? Will Ospreay's coming out here. They haven't announced the Owen yet. When are they going to announce the Owen?" And then they got through the rest of the show. Guess what? They had not announced yet.
They didn't announce the Owen last year until like the week before, and it came out because Martha did like an interview and it's like, "Yeah, the Owen's returning, and here's where it's starting." It's like, "Oh shit, I guess we got to actually do this thing this year." Like I assume it's going to happen. But now they made sure it's going to happen. I hope it was like Jeff Jarrett. I still maintain that Jeff Jarrett booked himself into a match with MJF and tried to book himself into a title shot, because when he re-signed his contract, Tony Khan was like, "Go out there, announce you've re-signed, and then say what you want to say." And Jeff was like, "All right, partner, I'm going for the world title." I think that's what happened last night. Is Will Ospreay was told, just go out there and speak from the heart. And Will's like, "All right, bruv, I'm going for the world title. I'm going to be in the Owen, and I'm gonna win it, and I'm gonna headline All In. And Tony's like, fuck, I gotta stop telling these people to say what they want, and I give them some spark notes on what to say. They keep booking this shit.
Don't go out there and talk about jumping off cages and your missus calling you 15 times.
He's so good at telling a story, though. I was here for the story. I've never related to a wrestler more than getting in trouble with your missus. Like, I'm used to that. Like, I get in trouble for stuff with my missus too. I was like, Will, I get you so much right now. He's like, my missus is like, why'd you jump off the cage? He's so relatable. He is so relatable. He's the everyday man of AEW.
My favorite is Corey Brennan, who does work on our site and does a lot of UK scoops, talking about how Alex Windsor was just in like the bloodiest dog collar match like a week or two ago with a photo, and it's like, what are we doing here? He's not like his missus is Kevin Nash's wife, who famously like was kept away from everyone and everything pertaining to wrestling. Like, let's stop pretending that our partners aren't somehow immersed in this. It's very funny, but also very silly.
It was great. It was great. Will is turned into a great promo, and I like the fact that he was the one that kind of announced the Owen, which made me be like, oh, it made me have false hope. Maybe it's false hope, or maybe it's genuine hope. I was like, oh my god, they're moving on from Darby. Please, they're moving on from Darby. Darby's not the end game here, and maybe it's Will that wins the world title at All In, because we can't wait for a guy who has a 40% chance of dying. I will say it on every stream that I'm on. We can't do that. And if we're gonna start the Owen now, which I mean, I would think that promo indicates maybe we started at like Dynasty. We could do the first round matches there and then concluded at Double or Nothing. Then you kind of have to move on from Darby Allin being the end game here. So maybe it is Will Ospreay that's going to win the Owen. But one overarching, besides the Dynasty International Championship Eliminator Tournament, yes, I'm going to say it fully every time I say it. The other focus of the show was all the main event players who have their sights set on the world title. You had Christian saying that he's still the undisputed next AEW world champion. You had Ospreay saying that he's going to win the Owen to main event All In. Then they went right to Switchblade Jay White being like, I'm mad that everybody's skipping the line. I'm supposed to be the next #1 contender. You got Swerve out here. He's getting his shot at Dynasty. You got Cope gets his shot next week. You got Ospreay saying he's going to win the Owen. I'm going to be the #1 contender for the AEW World Championship. Then you had the whole interaction with MJF and Hangman Adam Page, where Hangman's like, oh, I'm better than you because I beat you. And MJF's like, I'm going to win the world title before you do. So both of those guys are going after it. I like that all these main event players are in it. And I would appreciate if all these main event players are in the Owen, because that makes it a very much anyone can win type of field, unlike the last couple of years for the Owen.
It's going to be great.
And you will like it.
It's going to be great when the Owen is Will Ospreay and Hangman on opposite sides of the bracket. And then we've got Gravity,
Max Caster,
Gravity, Max Caster, Brian Keith, Mansoor, and
Big Bill, just to give someone a little something to go on.
Sure, Big Bill. They always throw like Jeff Jarrett.
Right.
There. That's your.
You got to have a New Japan star in there. Like Shingo last year, you got to have and Kojima the year before, you got to have a New Japan star. So Tomohiro Ishii, guy who never wins any singles match.
Clark Connors comes back.
Clark Connors. Okay. Yep. There you go. There's your Owen field.
Matthew
I would love
a 32-person Owen tourney for the men.
I'm kind of surprised that AEW hasn't ever leaned into like the March Madness thing, especially now that like they've got the lead in from the NCAA tournament. Like I'm kind of surprised they don't do more of the March Madness. They tried that one year with the Meat Madness, and then it completely fell through, and then they never went back to it. So, but that would typically be a Tony Khan thing of like, oh, March Madness, yeah, we can do this, and they just decided they just haven't.
I think we can all agree that the Owen is very much like Joe Hendry. You say its name and it appears. Because so far, that's every year, that's how the Owen appears. Nobody promotes it. It just kind of comes up in an interview and suddenly it appears. And I believe in the Owen Hart Tournament. What about for the women though? Like who's gonna run that gamut?
I would say Statlander would be my favorite.
Mercedes, give her another belt.
Yeah.
Saraya wins the Owen. There you go.
Oh,
I don't know why I keep going back to her. She keeps coming up in the most random places. I listened to the Talk is Jericho with Brad Williams, the comedian, and apparently, like the story started, Jericho was looking for someone to do the show, or like, no, Brad Williams was doing Saraya's new podcast. FYI, Saraya's going to be starting a podcast. Have fun, and as a guest, one of Saraya's questions was like, who was the last person you texted, or text the last person on your list, or most famous or something. Anyway, he texted Jericho, and Jericho was like, you want to be on my show? And that's how that interview came up. Anyway, point of all this is Saraya keeps coming up in the weirdest places, including now the podcast.
You keep bringing her up.
Well, I keep bringing her up. She's coming up in my ears in random places. She's doing shit on the red carpet and dressing up and going to stuff, and here we are.
Taking pictures with the Bella twins.
Taking pictures with the Bellas and starting that whole conversation. Deonna winning the Owen. Let's go with that.
I mean,
no, I think it's gonna be Chris and Willow in the finals. That's how they're gonna culminate this whole will they, won't they be friends again story.
Can Deonna win a match before she wins the Owen?
She got to get in.
And plus, if it's my idea of the Owen finals back at Double or Nothing, that would make sense because that's 1 year from Chris turning on Willow at last year's Double or Nothing. And we all know Tony Khan loves his 1 year ago, this happened. Remember, guys?
I don't think they're going to do the finals being at Double or Nothing, though, because there's no Canada dates in your layout here, SP3. Like, you can't do the Owen tournament and not run a single event in Canada.
Apparently that's what they do every year. Yeah, they close it out in Calgary.
So I don't think
do the week after. They'll do the semifinals at Double or Nothing and then the finals like 2 weeks from there on.
Yeah, I don't think this tournament's gonna. I mean, maybe it starts before Double or Nothing, or there's a match at Double or Nothing that's an Owen tournament. But you're looking at the finals being after Double or Nothing because they're gonna hit Canada, and that's where the finals are gonna be.
I wonder when.
Or maybe they started in Canada.
June. They got no dates announced past Double or Nothing. That's the end of May. So I assume they're going to announce some Canada dates for June.
Let's find out real quick. Actually, I'm just going to text this person about Canada dates, specifically Toronto.
Brian Danielson?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian Danielson's he's my Canada dates scoopster.
Need some Canada dates information, please.
Yeah.
Send me an ESAP on the double. Since we didn't talk, I think did we cover everything from Dynamite?
Yeah, who cares about wrestling?
Other than him following up on the Canada dates, I wanted to bring up the best new show in wrestling, Evolve. Because we didn't get to talk about it last week because Jeremy wasn't here. Did you watch Evolve yesterday, Jeremy?
I didn't watch it last night because I watch Dynamite. I typically, so last week I watched it on a Thursday, so I'll watch it at some point today. So I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Same. I watched it this morning because I do my due diligence to be on this show. I think about the viewers, and they need me to watch all the professional wrestling as much as possible. Even though you guys did not talk about the New Japan Cup yesterday, so I was a little disappointed by that.
The who Japan Cup?
The New Japan Cup.
The new what?
The New Japan Cup. The most prestigious tournament currently going on that has a simple name that I could say in one breath.
What happened to the old Japan Cup?
They got rid of that. Now it's the New Japan Cup. And you didn't talk about how my boy Gabe Kidd got screwed over by the House of Torture.
Hell yeah.
And Ren Narita, but Ren Narita giving me conflicting feelings because yes, he screwed over my boy Gabe Kidd, but he is giving us dangerous techers battling in the next round, which I'm here for. I've been wanting the dangerous techers, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Taichi for years. I've been begging New Japan to put them in the same block for the G1, but now we're going to get it in the New Japan Cup. I believe that's going to be on the 16th or the 17th, so that I'm looking forward to that.
Are they going to run back Shota and Shota challenging for this title?
I saw someone suggest that they're gonna do Shota versus Zack in the finals, and I'm like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Like Shota legitimately, and it wasn't even his fault. He had probably the second worst main event of a New Japan show this year, after he had the first worst main event of a New Japan show this year with his 40-minute matchup with Zack at Wrestle Kingdom. But him and Great O'Khan yesterday, oh my God, it was so boring. So boring.
They tried to change up Shota with the bald head, and like he switched his style up. He's doing the knee now instead of the Death Rider, whatever Moxley calls that.
No, he's doing a knee, and then he does the Northern Lights bomb that he's calling the second chapter.
Yeah.
But he's still wearing those bell-bottom pants. Like,
he looks weird.
It's so weird. Stop wearing these pants. These pants are the problem. When you were wearing tights, everybody was into you. When you were wearing tights, you had this great physique to you. You had a great look. You looked like baby Tanahashi. That was fine to a lot of people. It's when you started wearing these bell-bottom pants, you slowly but surely lost all your mojo.
You know, I keep thinking he reminds me of, like, with the bald head now and like the pants, everything. I keep thinking he's Hakushi. Like, that's who I
absolutely no. You're 100% on the money. When I saw the picture of him before I actually watched the show a couple of days ago, when I saw the picture of him, I was like, all he's missing is the writing. He's missing the writing on his chest.
Yeah, that's who he looks like. I was like, what? Shit, Hakushi got in really good shape for being however old he is nowadays. But that's who I can't shake that image out of my head now, is that he's just Hakushi. But Shota, they're trying again with him. I don't know, man. You got Gabe Kidd and Shingo and all these guys right there. I don't know if you need to try to give more.
Yoda Tsuji is over now.
Yeah, Tsuji. Yeah. That's what I meant to say instead of Shingo. But
yeah. David Finlay is in a good position. They making people even interested in Sonata and what Sonata's going to choose, because Sonata can't help anybody. He tried to help David Finlay the other day in the tournament and literally almost cost him the matchup. And they ended a main event match with a count out. That was funny. The Battle of Bullet Club ended in a count out.
No choice but to respect the House of Torture. And
hey, your boy Evil lost though.
Yeah,
he lost.
Sad.
He's no longer the leader of the Bullet Club. Now David Finlay said the Bullet Club is his. The War Dogs are his. This tournament is his. And I agree. That was my pick for the New Japan Cup tournament. So
Evil will get back on track. Don't worry. He'll get back on track coming out of this tournament.
It'll probably be him and Tsuji at Sakura Genesis for the global title. So
hell yeah,
you have your chance to win some gold.
He's going to beat Tsuji, and it's going to piss off so many people. It's going to rule.
My guy is back to me.
Oh, okay. We're going to learn if AEW is coming to Toronto.
So before anyone gets weird about it, it's no one at AEW or anything like that. It's someone who works in like a ticketing department, not even based in Toronto. So like
Bryan Danielson.
It's Bryan Danielson. So don't worry. Don't start source guessing, because you absolutely won't know. But shout out to that person. They got me the Sens fanny pack over there. So the Sens WWE fanny pack. We'll find out soon. They're gonna help out.
I started the conversation by saying I was going to talk about Evolve, but after you're done, Joe.
No, that's fine. I'm good. Apparently, there's some random wrestling show happening in May in this city. We're gonna find out.
AEW.
Actually, so I want to bring this up because this is Are we? Do you guys do it? I don't do the Thursday show with all of you. Do you guys do the TNA roundup for the week on Thursdays? The preview? Do you preview TNA now? I don't know.
No, I think I did.
I try. We try.
Yeah, I think I have done it in the past. I just
okay. Then we can probably wait for my funny little moment there.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead, talk about Evolve because Evolve.
Okay, so Evolve last week, like I said, it was fun for a 2010s WWE Network show, and it was the good parts where they kind of introduce you to the characters with like these 1-minute vignettes and stuff like that. And they still had this on this show, but this show was more of like set up for the future type of show instead of like the balls to the wall trios match that we got last week with Cappuccino Jones and Jack Hartwell and Sean Legacy versus Jackson Drake and Swipe Right. That was a good close to the show. This one was just like mad squashes, and the two squashes that set up things is they feel like they're doing like a hoss fight between Harlem Lewis, shout outs for the name, good name, I agree with that name, and Keanu Carver. They both squashed some dudes. I'm not going to waste my time with people getting squashed. Stuff for Trill London, the greatest squash that I've seen on Evolve so far. But yeah, Keanu Carver, he's a beast. Harlem Lewis, he's a beast. So they're setting up a hoss fight between them. Zeta Steel is a heel who's upset that she hasn't got a match yet on Evolve. She was very upset. She invaded the VIP section, which was occupied by Kendall Gray, the GOAT, the best spear in the game, Kendall Gray, and her tag team partner Carly Bright. Brenly Reese is teasing a heel character of some kind, and then they did like a sit down with Luca Fisafino. I think that's how you say his name. Crucifino and
watch NXT. God damn it.
Javier Bernal was up there. Javi, big body Javi is
Javi.
Yes, he's back, and he's got long, beautiful hair. He looked gorgeous in this sit down that they had, and they set up a matchup for next week on Evolve. They had a good matchup with Zara and Kylie Ray. That was good. Yeah. The petite powerhouse, as they call Zara, and then she actually got the win, which I was surprised. I thought that Kylie Ray was going to get some victories to kind of start things off because they kind of established that she's the most veteran talent in Evolve, but then she lost her first matchup, so I was surprised about that.
They got some storyline plans with Kylie Ray.
Yeah. She seems that they set something up with her and Wendy Chu. Wendy Chu gave her a teddy bear with a note on it. And then they the main event was Oro Mensah and Riley Osborne, which I was like, yeah, this is like an NXT level up main event. All right. And they had a pretty decent little matchup. And then at the end, Gallus announced that they were in Evolve. They were causing a ruckus backstage, and they made Swipe Right run away.
I did see Gallus was at the end of the show, and I'm just like, this is what we're doing with Gallus. Man, trading with The Rock just don't pay off like you think it would.
I think it does pay off. I think it does pay off because they get to stay paid. They get a contract for life. These guys are employed for life. They're just going to put them on Evolve. They'll put them on TNA eventually. They'll literally put them as many places as they can. And Dwayne's just going to be like, thanks, pal. And that's it. They get the money. They'll be happy. Riley Osborne versus Oro Mensah is the most I appeared on TNA once match you'll ever see.
Both of them, yes, pretty much both of them. That's an apt description. Or I used to be in an over faction on NXT matchup. So yeah, that was like a main event this week. They didn't give them much time, not as much time as the trios match from the week prior. But that's your Evolve rundown. I'm gonna do this every Thursday. I'm gonna try my best before we come on here to watch Evolve, so I could give you the Evolve recap. So this is SP3 with the Evolve recap for March 13th, 2025.
Yeah, I'm just gonna clown the shit out of that show.
Joe, you know what?
I'm just gonna run down everything, and I just want you to clown it. That's what I'm gonna do these rundowns for.
You should do. You guys should do an Evolve post show on Thursdays. I feel like that would combine an ROH and an Evolve post show. I feel like that would go over well.
Should have you at the top of the TNA post show.
Just do 3 minutes talking about Evolve this week. It's 45 minutes. Like, it's an easy watch. I will give it that.
Honestly, 45 minutes is about how long our TNA post shows go these days because ain't much going on.
They got a pay-per-view tomorrow or a TNA Plus special.
Good for them. We ain't doing a post show for it.
No, you're not.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, that's my favorite video that I put here that Rob Wilkins now plays every single time.
Sacrifice.
Been living on that one for years. That's an old Tim and Joel meme, for Christ's sake. Anyway, TNA is doing whatever. The one eventually their world champion will have an actual feud. Instead, he's gonna have
he just fucking
giving
does
people their final matches instead. It's yeah.
Why are they doing Lethal Lockdown without calling it Lethal Lockdown?
Because they don't have a 6-sided ring and weapons for this match.
They just need to call it Lethal Lockdown. It's basic. They literally are doing an advantage match on Thursday.
Yeah, that's the part that really threw me off. And my favorite part was that they called it, but when they announced the advantage match, they had not yet announced that it was a cage match.
So that's even better. That's even better.
I have an interview with Steve Macklin that's dropping next week. I wanted it to drop this week, but some stuff got in the way and I only got it uploaded yesterday to the site, so we're going to run it next week. So part of the reason why this is relevant is because pulling back the curtain, we actually filmed the interview. It was February 23rd in Toronto at Blood Brothers Brewery. And as Macklin and I were talking, he's like, when do you think this is going to drop? And they just got back from taping. So like, he didn't want to spoil anything and he wanted to make sure that things were still like factual given what we were going to talk about. And so I told him it'll happen after your match with AJ Francis. So like, I'll ask you about AJ. And so we ran down like the calendar. In the interview, which you will see dropping next week, he actually makes a reference to TNA Under Siege. And I turned to him and he's like, we're going to be back in Toronto, in Brampton. And I was like, yeah, Brampton, sure. And he's like, we're going to be there for Under Siege. And I'm like, Under Siege? No, you're coming for TV tapings. And he's just like, oh, did we not announce that yet? I'm just like, no, we did not. And then he just turns to the camera and he says, sorry, you know who. And we continue on. And I'm like, and I just went back. I thought maybe he had just screwed up. And then, of course, yesterday, TNA announces that they are going to run the Under Siege PL or Plus special. And then they'll do a night of TV tapings. No shock. This was kind of part of the plans. I am curious as to why it took them so long to announce that they were going to do a PLE and not, just announce it right when they put the announcement out that they're coming to Brampton. Either way, the interview is really fun. Go check it out next week when it drops. But I found it very funny when it's like, so we're coming for Under Siege. And I was like, huh? I asked him to bury AJ Francis and he wouldn't.
I have a question for you.
Coward.
I have a question for you, Joel. When is Rebellion?
The week after Unbreakable.
Yeah, I was. That's why I asked, because I was like, why would I understand you want to run a WrestleMania week show, but that's 2 big shows like back to back, and I don't know if TNA is capable of doing that well. They have proven they haven't. When I've
spoken to people from TNA, the general feeling was, and they agreed when I said this too, it was you have to make your Unbreakable card very different from what your Rebellion card's looking like. Not like tag matches of the show that's coming in a week, type of TV style matches. Their general feeling is also they're running this on West Coast time, so it's not like they're going to have a huge viewership live. It's going to be a fun show, but it's not going to be like it's coming after an episode of Impact that they will have taped. So I don't think that they're putting too much stock into Unbreakable. I think they're going to try and push it. They're going to make it a thing. But the general consensus is like, we're doing it because it's WrestleMania week and it's going to have some fun surprises and fun stuff on the card. But otherwise, like the Rebellion pay-per-view is what you should be looking forward to, not Unbreakable. But yeah, the feeling is like do a different card entirely or just do something that is substantially different from the pay-per-view, because you got to sell the pay-per-view. You don't got to sell the plus subscriptions.
Yeah, that was an interesting choice. I will that's all I will say about that. Very interesting choice.
I was more concerned about people getting pulled from their matches. Like Jody Threat's got a match that evening in a FSW Demand Lucha like tandem event, and she's facing Dulce Tormenta, and she's very excited about that match. And I'm like, I really hope that they don't pull her from that show because it's the same night, same time as Unbreakable. We'll see where that goes. Ali has a match also at like noon that day, so I don't know if they'll pull him because reason or I don't know. I don't know what the plan is.
Can we talk serious about TNA for a second?
Sure.
I know we like to clown on TNA a little bit. There's a real issue with this Joe Hendry title reign that people just don't talk about because no one gives TNA that much attention. Sorry, TNA. But there's a real issue with this thing that he won the title and he got his moment, and their follow-up was an interruption by Jake something, an interruption by the Colognes and Elijah, and Joe Hendry will defend the title and a 10-man cage match where they don't even have both the Hardys in it because one's challenging for the X Division title. Did they have no plan and no foresight into putting the title on Joe Hendry past putting the title on Joe Hendry? Because this has been awful. Absolutely awful. Completely dropping the ball of you had this guy at his hot peak last year and you didn't put the title on him. Fine. You built it up. You put the title on him here. You had him in the Royal Rumble. And then you've had no actual follow through with that. Joel, I know you are the biggest fan of Joe Hendry in ring wise and everything. Go ahead.
I've been batting this drum since it started. I've told you this.
No, I know. Like,
go ahead, continue.
I think you can get around some in-ring limitations if you actually have a follow-up of what you're going to do with him after he wins the title. And they've had nothing. Like, I know we've joked about it. We've joked about it a lot. They ain't got no plan with this JBL stuff. This JBL stuff ain't going anywhere. JBL's gonna show up when he shows up.
He hasn't even been here in like 2 months.
That's all it's gonna be.
If they do what I think they're about to do, and this is all leading to Nick Nemeth versus JBL at Slammiversary, I am going to cackle. I'm serious. I think the turn is coming at Sacrifice. Ryan's going to turn on Nick. They're going to do Ryan versus Nick at Rebellion, brother versus brother. Nick's always wanted to do that. And then it's going to lead to JBL doing the big swerve and taking out Nick Nemeth, not necessarily siding with Ryan, but doing the setup to the Slammiversary match because that sells some stupid tickets in their eyes.
But this stinks.
But in their eyes, Dolph Ziggler versus JBL is like, oh, I'll buy a ticket for $20 for that. Like, that's kind of the mindset with these people.
This is still an issue of what are you doing with your world champion on this? I'm not saying this would have been good, by the way, but I would have much rather done Joe Hendry against Elijah instead of Elijah coming in and then being friends and everything. I know, Joel, you kind of thought that might have happened when
they're
Joe was
obviously going to have Elijah turn on Hendry. Yeah, they're gonna have Elijah turn on Hendry eventually. They've already set it up. Like the whole issue is they never wanted to put this title on Joe Hendry. Him being as over as he is was never a part of their plan. That is the whole big issue. Because if it was a part of your plan, you put the title on him at Bound for Glory. Because I said after Bound for Glory, I did a whole review and I said this feels very much like Seth Rollins' run as Tyler Black at the tail end of his ROH run, where they kept prolonging him, putting the Ring of Honor world title on him to the point that they put him on him in just a mere 4 months before he signs with WWE. And that's what it feels like with Joe Hendry, that they put the title on him way too late. They waited too long. They tried to do it at Genesis, and now they don't have any plans. There's no over heels except for the system, all the guys he's been facing in the lead up to becoming a main eventer. Josh Alexander is gone. There's no one for him to face. Elijah, okay, you can get one pay-per-view match out of that, and they're building to that, but that is not a good plan to have for your world champion. And yes, Joe Hendry is not as over as he was going into Bound for Glory as he is now as TNA world champion, and that's very unfortunate.
I told y'all. I'm sorry, I did. And it wasn't necessarily the in-ring work. It was also just it was partially the timing. It was partially the push. It was what they see as next. And again, the chips are all in on Santana. The stuff he's doing with Ali is top tier wrestling. It's top tier storytelling there. That this is their focus to the detriment of their world title, which is in a 10-man tag buried underneath everybody else who's in the match, because they spent more time telling you Elijah's here and the Colognes are here, and they're all going to be in a match with your world champion, who was number 4 in a 4-man, like 4 people in one match. And then they gave, like, again, the title match, him winning at Genesis was it was kind of expected, and at that point they had no plan for it beyond him winning. There was no and now what.
Eric Young would have been a great first challenger coming out of the Josh Alexander stuff. Eric Young, established heel, established TNA name. He's got guys behind him. And at least he is somebody who Joe Hendry can work with and play off of. And Eric Young has cachet with the audience as well. I'm not saying Eric Young is the greatest idea in the world. I've talked about TNA and how their roster is kind of what it is, especially the main event scene, as they're letting Santana simmer right now. So they don't have too many great options in the first place. But the fact that they didn't even seem to try with this, that they just did, oh, here's Jake something challenging. Here's the Colognes interrupting, and now you're going to team with Elijah. Let's throw you in a 10-man where you don't even feel like the biggest star in this group.
Y'all are going to hate tonight, by the way. Cover your ears, fast forward, mute the stream for the next 20, 30 seconds for what I'm about to say, because it doesn't include spoilers for tonight. So I'm telling you, mute your stream or stop it, whatever, for 30 seconds in 3, 2, 1. It's going to be Ryan Nemeth comes out. He's going to challenge for the TNA World title. He's going to get squashed. And then Alexander Hammerstone comes back for what is his final appearance in TNA. He's going to challenge, and he's going to lose to Joe Hendry in a TNA World Championship match. What does this matter? It doesn't, because they have no plans for Joe Hendry other than he's their champion. Frankie Kazarian, by the way, you can unmute now. Frankie Kazarian is the guy who's going to win the title. He's going to cash in the Call Your Shot gauntlet, and he's going to win, and it's going to lead to a match between Santana and Frankie Kazarian, because you do not want two baby faces fighting for that world title when Santana is your guy. You do not want it. Frankie has to be the interim guy going into Slammiversary, because he will get booed no matter what. You bring in Hendry, he's going to get cheered, but then Santana's the hometown boy. Like, you really want that. You want that dichotomy of reaction. So there are no plans for Joe Hendry. That's it. That's really all it comes down to. Sorry to those who didn't want the spoilers, but also thank you for indulging that for a moment, and thank you to chat for telling them when to unmute and when to mute.
Just terrible.
Oh, by the way, don't say you need to have a talk with Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer's not the guy who's running creative there. Creative is not run through Tommy Dreamer. Tommy, Gale, all those people, that they have a say in it, but there is someone else that has final say, and it ain't those guys. It ain't those front-facing people. I will tell you that right now. Some talent do have a say in the format of their story, but final say goes through one person, and it's not someone that you guys are generally accustomed to. So that's another can of worms altogether.
JBL.
Jables does have final say. That's right. They call him up in Mexico and they say, "You got any more Mama Joanna?" And he's like, "I do not." Okay, well, here's my idea for a show. Can I get a couple super chats?
Watch TNA tonight. Don't watch TNA. I don't care. Yeah, do the super chats.
Crest and I will do a post show, and you guys will you'll hear us talk about more in-depth stuff from that, including what'll come out of tonight's show. Tenruza is saying the UBS Arena show, that's Slammiversary, by the way, is make or break for WWE/TNA tie. So I disagree with this for two reasons. One, WWE is not in this partnership to make TNA sell out venues. They're there to see growth. They are there to facilitate the growth of the WWE talent, the TNA brand in certain ways, but they're not there to see that they sell out every arena. I will say I do ask Macklin about the UBS show and what expectations are. And he gives a really good answer. Again, don't expect like some back channel, whatever. What he said. Pardon?
Barry Macklin.
Yeah, well, that's what I'll do next. No, but in the interview, he effectively says, like, that's not up to us. We want to fill the house, but also we're going to be happy seeing more butts and seats than we did the last time we were running Slammiversary, for example. And that's the TNA mindset. If the shows bring a bigger crowd than the last time they ran that show, regardless of where they ran it, if they can prove city to city that there's growth, that's great. If they can prove tentpole show to tentpole show that they are bringing in more fans, then that's great too. They did the same thing with Bound for Glory. Chicago, they did one amount. In Detroit, they did more. They want to do the same thing. Montreal, they did over 4,000. So UBS, they there want to do over 4,000. Can the WWE influence bring them higher? Yes. Do they want to sell out the arena? Absolutely. Is it expected of them to do so? No, it's not going to make or break this partnership. What it will do is strengthen it and give WWE more opportunities to put more of their talent on and then use the Hardys when they want the Hardys.
Pretty much. Yeah, they signed a multi-year partnership with WWE TNA, so no event this year is going to be the make or break for the tie. And like Joel said, like they have their goals in mind. One of them is not them selling out this UBS show. This is not the make or break that you might think it is. So
yeah, it's not a WWE branded show. It's still a TNA show. Like if it does better than last year, they're happy. I don't think they have any expectation. Wasn't this show like announced before this partnership became official?
Yes, it was.
Anyway, yeah. So WWE, they don't have any ties to this outside of, hey, we might give you a couple of wrestlers for it, but it ain't gonna be the top names to where it's like, wow, WWE couldn't sell out UBS. They ain't giving you Roman Reigns or anything for this show.
Mm-hmm. And the association with WWE has already paid off for TNA. That's why they had the boom that they had last year in improving their ticket sales for their live events, is because of that association that stemmed from Jordynne Grace having her debut in the Royal Rumble, and then every appearance that she made, every appearance that Joe Hendry made, it got more eyes on TNA. Combine that with the Hardys coming back into play, they were a big draw for them as well. All these things were in their favor. Joe Hendry got mega hot toward from the summer into the fall and winter of last year as well. And I will say, I saw somebody in the chat saying Joe Hendry is over. I never said he's not over. I just don't think he's as over as he was going into Bound for Glory. That's why the right choice was for him to win the title at Bound for Glory, to sustain him being that hot. Yes, he got a huge pop at the Royal Rumble, and the fans were into him. The fans knew his song, and they were into him. And he was still over in a way after Royal Rumble. But the follow up that TNA has done with him since then is what we're discussing. Is that they have not properly followed up from Joe Hendry getting that pop at the Royal Rumble and him being the world champion.
They'll have a big Slammiversary show. I'm saying it now because they do want to push more tickets than they ever had for a show, and they have big deal. Like they have a big plan for this show. WWE's involvement will be helpful. They get the rub on socials every time they run a show. The NXT channel is promoting TNA stuff, so let it ride. They're okay with that. Tenru's adding in, do you see the WWE TNA relationship ever ending early? No, something egregious would have to happen on TNA side, to be honest, for WWE to say this is it. Something like so incredibly bad that someone would have to come out and be like, Dwayne, you are say the worst possible thing you can, or call Paul Levesque like the worst possible. Paul Levesque is afraid to go out on camera. That would end the partnership. I don't know what would do it, but it would have to be something so egregious and so undeniably problematic that you would have to cut it off. That's probably not going to happen. Or one of them would have to go out of business, but I don't expect that either. So the partnership is more than what you see on TV. The opportunities are more than what you hear about in the news and in on the shows. It's TNA. They're doing okay. They do not want to be on the channel that they're currently on. They are very much trying to get off of Access TV. That is like the what's the word? The worst kept secret. Like it's the one thing that everybody knows and everyone talks about, and they'll get there. They tout the 360 deal with the Sportsnet 360. That's the channel name. They tout that deal because this was a big deal for them. It got them off of a channel that they owned, and it got them into a proper Canadian channel that can show their product. It's not about the ratings. It's about how many deals you can get and how much money you can make for your media rights. They are working towards that. That's another benefit of the WWE partnership. They are going to have more people who can vouch for TNA as a company that creates content that is serviceable, reliable, 52 weeks a year, blah, blah, blah. And that's going to get some feet in the doors. That's another advantage to this. I know others have then posited the fact that it'll take away from the possibility of AEW getting better media rights deals in the future. Again, that needs to be proven, but it is completely understandable as an idea. Or a hypothesis. I just don't. I need to see the proof first. So that's where we're at.
Too much TNA talk.
Joe Hendry is not. I don't think he's going to be champion by Slammiversary. We'll leave it at that. By July, I don't think he'll be champion. I love this.
Joe's been saying that for like a year.
Was such a terrible move. Here's the answer is both yes and no. They had people who would actually watch there. The problem was they couldn't properly monetize on it, and they also lost a lot of monetization opportunities because they allowed for co-streaming. They were trying to rebuild their goodwill with the audience. For that, the Twitch deal was amazing. When they realized, oh shit, we can't prove our value to anybody like this, they decided to move everything into YouTube and make you pay for it. And I remember I was sitting in my physiotherapist's office. I was doing physio at the time for my arm. And I remember getting the notification, we're no longer on Twitch, we're now on YouTube. And I messaged Steven Jensen, who was doing the co-watch with me at the time. And I was like, oh shit, what are we going to do now? Because the last week's episode was the last one. And then they pulled it to YouTube. I ended up really liking YouTube because I could start the show late, and YouTube allowed me to basically run the show at 2x speed so I could catch up without missing a beat. I would just get it faster. And then they moved to plus only, and I was like, this sucks. And I hated it. And then they moved to Sportsnet 360 in Canada, and I'm like, all right, I don't have to pay for TNA anymore. And I still can't watch it at 2x speed. It's the worst. But here we are.
Those TNA Twitch streams was the first time I was on camera with Joel.
That's right.
That's
the origin of my love story with Joel, and the origin of my love story with Steven Jensen, because we talked about our love of Mighty Ducks. That was great times.
Cool. Shout out to them.
And it led to the Mighty Ducks stream that me and Steven Jensen did.
Was I not part of that?
You came on once in a while.
No, I know the Mighty Ducks stream. I feel like I was.
Yeah, you were part of it. You were part of that. You were part of that. You also have a love for Mighty Ducks. You're a duck.
Yes.
Ducks fly together. You know.
Ducks fly together. Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, what else is going on? We got a few minutes left before we go.
TNA.
I think the only thing.
Who cares?
I think the only thing we didn't touch on from Dynamite I saw in the chat was the MVP giving his business. I touched on it. I said it. MVP offering the business card to MJF. Do we think that MJF is going to be the newest member of the Hurt Syndicate? I think he might stand out for some reason. I don't know.
Because he wears nice suits, right?
Yeah, of course.
All wear nice suits.
Oh no! It's because he doesn't wear a tie.
Yeah, he wears a scarf. That's the thing. Yeah. And those guys don't wear scarves.
No, because MVP wears a scarf too.
Does MVP wear a scarf? MVP's got a cane.
He doesn't.
Yeah, got a cane.
That's the rest of them.
Yeah.
It's the scarf. I think it's because he doesn't wear a tie.
I thought they worked really well with each other. MVP talking about their history with one another, and him meeting an 18-year-old Maxwell Jacob Freeman. And then Max talking about, he's the longest reigning AEW world champion, and MVP being like, the key word is was, and making him take the card. And you could tell that Max really wanted to do this because he had the biggest smile on his face when MVP's going through their history with one another. He had a tear in his eye and everything. I was like, oh, this is actually sweet.
They did stuff in MLW together, didn't they?
I think so.
M did. I know M did MLW for a while. That's pretty neat. Listen, you could tell that they were into it. They had that history, and I like that they're going to play into it. I hope they explain more of it. I know they did a lot in that exposition of a promo, but I hope they prove more of it. I don't know what you do though, because the Hurt Syndicate are babyface heels. They're cool heels. MJF is not. And you can't have one beat up the other and then without turning one in the process. That's kind of my problem with this whole thing. Unless you have like the Hurt Syndicate would have to beat up MJF just to solidify that they're going to be baby faces. And then the next week they'll just beat up Hangman and be like, we don't care. I don't know. It's good on the surface. I wonder how this plays out from a dynamic of baby faces and heels.
MJF should recruit Action Andretti and Leo Rush, and then we can get MJF, Action Andretti, and Leo Rush, Crew JF against the Hurt Syndicate. I feel like that's where we should be going with this.
Will MJF wear the spike jacket?
Yeah.
That's the moment. He's gonna fight it until finally he does it. He's gonna put on the stupid jacket after the Crew like come and defend MJF from a big beatdown, and then they bring him the jacket, and they'll be like, oh, ah! And everyone gets all excited because he's wearing the stupid spiky jacket.
Yes. That's my pitch. Trios matches with MJF and Crew against the Hurt Syndicate.
Where was Crew this week? Why were they? Where were they?
They were in the crowd at Revolution.
But this is kind of the point, though. The general point. They did the segment where they gave Hurt Syndicate or MVP gave Lashley and Shelton the week off. Said go have sex with women. Go do anything but go to the gym. Do whatever. Go to Waffle House. I don't care. And then they're like, we're gonna go to the gym anyway. And he's like, all right, do whatever you want. Meanwhile, Crew was in the crowd doing nothing at Revolution but watching that match. If you didn't have Crew cut a promo, have a match, do something, like you just wasted that camera shot. Like there was no.
They might do something on Collision with the Crew. Their usual home.
I assume that they will, but they gotta. I feel like striking while the iron is hot is something that needs to be.
Like Action Andretti and Leo were like, we showed up to this show. Can we just sit front row? And Tony like, yeah, sure. Just put the camera on them. Just so everyone can see that they're there. I mentioned this yesterday, whatever. Like, they've not won a match this year. They're not that important. No offense to them.
That's why I'm saying they should have a match and they should have won on Dynamite. So at least
should have been the main event. That could have been the main event over Orange Cassidy and Hechicero.
And Rizzo once Leslie Jones representing AEW versus Bowens representing New Japan.
Oh, Leslie Jones is fantastic.
Leslie
Jones back to the territory days.
Wiping her brow, old granny style. She's gonna start taking a cane.
Leslie Jones about to beat some ass.
She was so great. That was the best celebrity cameo that I've seen in wrestling in a very long time. Definitely better than Monday Night with Andrew Schultz. I'll take Leslie Jones yelling at Ricochet.
What's really funny is so Sean had made reference to, it's really good that they're showing all these comedians and all these actors and actresses and their reactions throughout the night on Revolution. And I thought it was good too. And then fast forward to Monday and it's like, this person's here and this person's here and this person's here and this person's here and this person's here. And it's like the entire night is just showing people in the crowd. I'm like, there really has to be a balance. There really.
Yeah.
And again, the Andrew Schultz thing was absolute dog shit. Don't even need to get into that, but
horrible segment.
They need to. Yeah, it wasn't good, and it's just the wrong people are coming to do these shows. There needs to be someone to stop them and be like, maybe, but also given who it is, whatever. I just think you need to really rein back on how many people in the audience you show, because I don't need like this guy writes a Netflix show. Here he is, and you're like, what is this? Who is this person?
Selling Sunset? I don't even watch that. What are we doing?
I do think, like I've said it before, that I don't mind them showing these people in the audience. I think I like that AEW did it at Revolution. I like when WWE does it. It doesn't bother me because it's like, hey, this is the place to be. This is look how many cool people, look how many big stars are hanging out here. I do agree there are some diminishing returns with the way WWE did it on Monday, when they just had these people of like, who you just went from Macaulay Culkin to, I don't know, John, I was going to say Jacob, but John Smith over here, because he's a writer on a Netflix show. Like Macaulay Culkin doing there, getting a big pop. That seems pretty cool. This dude being here, it's like, oh, all right, sure. Like, I don't feel like you need to do it. Yeah, you gotta kind of pick and choose who you do it with. But these celebrities come, and it's like they're gonna be on camera. So I still don't overall mind it, but yeah, the diminishing returns of like, all right, now we're just saying these people are important, but
are you telling me you have Kevin McAllister and you choose to do an angle with Andrew Schultz? Kevin McAllister, Macaulay Culkin has proven on many occasions he is the most over celebrity you could possibly do. Why don't you use him to be the voice of the New York fan and do an angle with him? And AJ Styles can get a big genuine pop when he raises his hand. Like, that was so stupid. It's like, you have Fabulous there. Fabulous, FABOLOUS, and we're doing Andrew Schultz?
So I wouldn't be surprised if we find out sometime down the way, and this is not reporting, this is purely speculatory, that Logan was behind the choice.
Yeah. 100%. It was Logan behind it.
If someone else is gone, absolutely. Everyone you just mentioned, like, you could have done Fabulous, you could have done Macaulay Culkin, you could have done that random ass writer from that show that no one watches, and it would have had the same, it should have had a better result. Schultz was that was a choice, let me tell you. But yeah, that was definitely a Logan Paul thing.
Yeah, I figured that. That's why they did it with Logan Paul, because it was a Logan Paul call. But I'm with SB3 of like, I feel like if you asked Macaulay Culkin to do this, he probably would have been up for it.
Absolutely.
And you would have at least gotten the right response that you wanted of, oh, we want to boo Logan Paul and cheer AJ Styles. No one cared if Andrew Schultz got beat up. I said this on Tuesday. It's like, they don't understand how to book these Logan Paul segments, apparently, because you're trying to heel Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, and you're trying to just babyface Andrew Schultz in general. It's like, where you got to flip these. Patrick Mahomes is the babyface. Andrew Schultz is the heel. You gotta figure this out. But I do think, like, part of it, and I could be completely wrong on this, by the way, I do think that these celebrities may want to, like, play a certain way that they typically don't get to play. Like, Andrew Schultz might be wanting to be like, oh yeah, I want to go and I want to be against Logan. It's so fun if, like, I'm with Logan and we heal, and, like, I want to play a bad guy against him. Patrick Mahomes might be, oh yeah, I want to align with Logan. I want to, like, help him out because that's my friend. Like, I could see the celebrities, like, pitching that kind of stuff. And at that point, like, you're not going to really tell these guys fully, no, you should, but yeah, you got to figure out a better plan with, you got to understand who the celebrities are and the audience, the live audience, to do a better disposition with the cheering and the booing.
Yeah. Just bring up fewer celebrities. You don't need one at every single segment. Then we get to 616 and you're just like, this wasn't my idea, but I had heard this one and I love the idea of doing it. You have all these celebrities, but once a week, WWE needs to play this game, whether internally or externally. They put up the name of someone. They have some random person stand up and their name is who whatever, some name. And they say they're award-winning writer on this show. That person is not actually that person. Like, not that the person is entirely made up. That is not a real name of a writer. That's not a real name of a person. And they're just fucking with you. They pick 20 people, and throughout the night, like, Macaulay Culkin, Andrew Schultz for better or worse, Fabulous, but you don't know, like, John Smith, who wrote for this show. You don't know this person. And so WWE needs to do it every single week where they show and they tell you, pick the one that's fake. Find the fake star. That's what they need to do every week.
Find the fake celebrity. A person that's not really a celebrity.
I always think
we're going to tell you. Yeah, we're going to tell you that this is a celebrity, but it's up to you, the audience. Media literacy super high throughout wrestling. Let me tell you, find the fake celebrity.
I always think, they do these people got their seats upgraded. I always think like those are celebrity people, and it's like, oh, who are these people? What celebrities are these? And then it's just like, oh, these are the family who got the Papa John's seat upgrade. Get your double stuffed crust pizza now from Papa John's. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just some random family. That's like what they should do is they should make those people out to be like celebrities when really it's just they're the people who got their seats upgraded. They should be like, oh, look at the people in the front row. They are the writer for this Netflix show. They're a producer for this Netflix show. And it's really just the Papa John's seat upgrade family.
You're seeing our friend Macaulay here. He's been upgraded from row 3 from section 312 to the front row. Congratulations, Macaulay. Enjoy your pizza from Papa John's.
With Emu freaking Culkin next to him. He looks so
you leave Rory alone.
He looks so depressed.
That was a great bit. We couldn't give Rory a title card. Oh God. Anyway, we're back tomorrow. Right? Are we back tomorrow? I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about at this point.
TNA.
Pretty much. TNA and the downfall of Joe Hendry.
Sacrifice. We're going to preview Sacrifice on the show tomorrow, everybody.
Sure. Listen, there are a couple of matches that look like they're going to be fun, but it's a very non-sequitur show. It'll happen. Jeff Hardy versus Moose in a ladder match is just that's a match.
That'll be good.
That's gonna be fun. Moose had my favorite match of Roadblock. That open match was awesome.
That was surprising.
Awesome. That was the match of the night.
Talk about that. Scott D'Amore interview dropped on Fightful. Go check that out over on the main channel. And back tomorrow. SP3 did do the thing because you're going to do another show soon.
Yes, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. I will be live in like 50 minutes over on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel for AE Ramble. Me and Jimmy talking about last night's AEW Dynamite, which I'm sure he had a bunch of fun, and he'll have a bunch of fun ripping it apart. So join us for AE Ramble at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time.
Jeremy, anything to plug?
No, you know what? Maybe tomorrow, since we didn't get a chance last week, our pal Share Delaware will join and we will have that conversation since we didn't get to do it last week. So that's a possibility.
Very good idea.
Thank you, Joel, for stepping in today as I felt like death to start the show. And I'm hoping at some point I'll feel better. It's rough going when I'm first trying to get going. It's rough
because you're just waking up.
Yeah, it's tough. I feel so terrible. Like now I feel okay, but all right.
And who knows? Maybe Joel or someone you have on here pisses me off enough to come on here and do a run-in like I did the last 2 Fridays.
You doing Friday run-in. That's a good bit. It's a good bit.
Oh man. For Jeremy, for SP3, you know who I am. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, ladies and gentlemen, friends of me on the binary. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.